Hey everyone, welcome back. We are in chapter 23, specifically the circulatory pathway notes. We have already gone over histology in a previous set of videos with going over those histology slides. We will, in this set of slides, we've gone over pulmonary circulation and coronary circulation. This video is going to focus on digestive and hepatic circulation. So we'll actually skip ahead to slide, whoops, too far. Slide 10. We're here on slide 10. So we're going in another portion of systemic circulation, this time to the digestive system, specifically the stomach and the intestines, as well as the liver. The spleen is not part of the digestive system, but it's in the same pathway. So here's the spleen. Hepatic refers to liver. Digestive refers to stomach, intestines, stuff like that. What's unique about this pathway is that there is something called a portal system. Normally when we have blood vessels in a pathway, we go from arteries to arterioles, we exchange at capillaries, and then we come back through venules and veins. That's normally what happens. With a portal system, we instead have two sets of capillaries. So in this case, we go from arteries to capillaries, to a vein, to capillaries again, and then to vein again. So there's two sets of capillaries in this pathway. That's what makes this a portal system. That's what makes this a bit unique. What's the reason for this portal system? Let's take a look. Pay attention to the schematic first. We can see that starting in the left ventricle, that's the start of systemic circulation, we pump blood out of the aorta. There's different portions of the aorta, ascending, the arch, descending. Abdominal aorta is once we get passed through the diaphragm. The aorta goes past the diaphragm from the thoracic cavity into the abdominal pelvic cavity. So here's the abdominal aorta. One major branch of the abdominal aorta is the short, wide blood vessel called the celiac trunk. It's an artery. The word trunk in this case means short, wide, branching blood vessel. You can see this right here in our semi-anatomically correct diagram. Here's the celiac trunk. And the celiac trunk has several branches. I would like you to know three. One branch goes to it goes towards the liver. It's called the common hepatic artery. One branch goes to the spleen. That's the splenic artery. One branch goes to the stomach. That's the gastric artery. So three major branches of the celiac trunk that I want you to know: common hepatic, splenic, and gastric. If you keep going along the aorta, the abdominal aorta, there are actually two additional branches. If you take a look over on this side, we have a superior mesenteric artery and an inferior mesenteric. There are two mesenteric arteries. Mesenteric arteries are arteries that go to the intestines. Mesenteric arteries go to the intestines. The word mesentery is the term for the fused peritoneum that connects the intestines. So it's in the same region and passing through this mesentery. So there are capillaries that go to the spleen, there are capillaries that go to the stomach. Let's focus here on this intestinal pathway. So I'm actually going to erase this here and redraw what's going on in the intestinal pathway. Starting in the left ventricle to the ascending aorta, aortic arch, descending aorta, abdominal aorta. If we go to the intestines, we do that via the mesenteric arteries, and then we get to the capillaries of the digestive system, which include our actual, our target of the intestines. When we have capillaries surrounding the intestines, we're getting gas exchange, but one thing that's unique that happens here at the intestines is that we absorb nutrients. We absorb nutrients from the food that we've eaten. At least that's the goal. Sometimes we eat food or things that aren't healthy or are toxic or are poisonous. It's almost impossible to just perfectly eat everything, everything that we want. There's always something that we accidentally eat, or something might get into our diet. So we still absorb that too. Our body wants to do its best job to filter, to screen, I shouldn't say the word filter, but to screen those things out. We want to screen those things out. Rather than immediately sending everything that we've absorbed to the rest of our body, we take our blood, the blood that now has absorbed nutrients and potentially toxins, we take that absorbed blood and send it towards the liver. To do that, we go through, take a look at this bottom left here. We go to the hepatic portal vein, that's the name of it, hepatic portal vein, and then the hepatic portal vein leads to capillaries of the liver. So here are our two sets of capillaries. We have a set of capillaries in the digestive system. Those are fenestrated capillaries. And then we have capillaries in the liver. Those are sinusoid capillaries. The capillaries of the intestines are so that we can absorb nutrients and potentially toxins. The capillaries of the liver are so that we can take the nutrients and store them for later. The one function of the liver is to store nutrients. Another function of the liver is to detoxify toxins. So the liver is taking nutrients, storing them, or filtering out toxins, detoxifying toxins. I'll write that down. Store nutrients, detoxify toxins. That's why we need, in this particular portal system, we need two sets of capillaries in this pathway. Other portal systems, there are other reasons. For this one, it makes sense that we have absorption of nutrients and toxins and then immediately do something about it. From there, after we get to the liver, we go to the hepatic vein. Note, hepatic portal vein and hepatic vein are two different structures. To the inferior vena cava, to the right atrium. What I also want you to notice is that there's two different ways to get to the liver. We can get to the liver the way I just drew here. We go through the abdominal aorta, mesenteric arteries, capillaries, hepatic portal vein, liver, sinusoid capillaries, hepatic vein. Or we can skip the intestines altogether. We can come to the descending aorta, abdominal aorta, celiac trunk, common hepatic artery, liver, sinusoid capillaries. So two different ways to get to the liver thanks to this portal system. Let me orient you a bit in this cadaver photo. We're looking in the anterior view of the abdominal pelvic cavity. You can see an outline here of the liver. It's been cut. This is a cut face of the liver. It should extend more here, but we want to be able to see behind it. The stomach should be here. Stomach's removed so that we can see behind it. You can see the spleen here. So it makes sense that the splenic artery leads to it. the stomach's removed, so you can't see where it leads to the stomach. And then here we have, in purple, the common hepatic artery leading to the liver. All three of these branch from, I'm gonna color in white, they all branch from the celiac trunk. And the celiac trunk branches from the aorta, which is hiding behind all of this. So aorta branches to celiac trunk immediately branches gastric artery, common hepatic artery, splenic artery. In this view over here on the right, this is an inferior view of the liver. Inferior view of the liver. You can see the gallbladder right here. The green thing that stores bile. So that's on the anterior side, tucked underneath inferior of the liver. You can see that common hepatic artery coming in this way and leading into the liver. So that's one way we can deliver blood to the liver. The other way we can deliver blood to the liver is through the common hepatic vein. It's a large blood vessel leading into the liver also. Two direct sources of blood into the liver, common hepatic artery and the hepatic vein. I'm sorry, this is not common hepatic vein. This should say, I'm sorry, hepatic portal vein. I'll correct this in your versions. This should say hepatic portal vein. Two direct sources into the liver, common hepatic artery and hepatic portal vein. There we go. To the hepatic portal vein, common hepatic artery, they branch to capillaries, the sinusoid capillaries within the liver, and then when blood exits the liver, hepatic veins drain it to the inferior vena cava, which is right here. So that's on the posterior side of the liver. Again, that should say hepatic portal vein. Here in this view, on slide 12, you can see the aorta. Well, let me orient you a little bit more. We're in the abdominal pelvic cavity. This is the diaphragm. Large, wide muscle separating thoracic cavity from abdominal pelvic cavity. So diaphragm is like more accurately kind of like that. You can see the aorta coming down here. And then the aorta splits. We'll talk about that split later. But the three branches here that you can see, this branch, that's the celiac trunk. That's the most superior within the abdominal pelvic cavity. Then we see this branch, that's the superior mesenteric artery to the superior portion of the intestines. And then down here is the inferior mesenteric artery. That's delivering blood to the inferior portion of the intestines. Let's take a look at complete anatomy. So here I've isolated in this screen the digestive hepatic circulation. Let me add in the diaphragm so you have an idea where we are. So you can see the diaphragm here. Both the inferior vena cava and the aorta pass through the diaphragm. Or I guess I should say the aorta passes kind of behind it and the diaphragm kind of accommodates for it. Here's a superior view of all that. So when you pump blood out of your heart, one way that it can go is from the left ventricle out the aorta, we're in the thoracic aorta and we keep going down. I'm going to remove the diaphragm now, I think, so that we can actually see where everything is. And over here, you can see our first major short, wide branch in the abdominal aorta. This is the celiac trunk. Here's our celiac trunk. The celiac trunk immediately branches into three major parts. We have our left gastric artery. You can just call it the gastric artery. That's going to the stomach. You can see all the branches for the gastric artery and come back through gastric vein. Or we can go to the splenic artery and come back through the splenic vein. If it's not apparent, this is the spleen right here. The stomach would be right here. And then the other branch is our common hepatic artery, which continues into more branches, but we'll just call it the common hepatic artery leading to the liver. And so the liver is over here. We have the common hepatic artery, but we also have a hepatic portal vein. And here's our hepatic portal vein, leading it also into the liver. Celiac trunk was right here. Right here. If you look a little farther down, there's another branching point of an artery right here. That's the superior mesenteric artery. And then a bit farther down than that, we have the, off of this lower part of the abdominal aorta, we have the inferior mesenteric artery. Those branch capillaries, and those capillaries then again come back through the hepatic portal vein. There's a mesenteric vein coming back to the hepatic portal vein. From the liver, we drain to hepatic veins. So again, there's a difference between hepatic portal vein and hepatic vein. So here's a hepatic vein. Here's another hepatic vein. And then draining to the inferior vena cava. That goes back up into the right atrium. All right. Let me know if you have any questions on digestive/hepatic circulation, particularly that hepatic portal system. We'll go over the brain circulation in the next video. So I'll see you in the next video.